So, today in the Philosophy Club, we talked about critical race theory, and when we were talking about that, something that became a pretty contentious issue was the subject of affirmative action. Now, affirmative action's been in the news lately with regards to the Supreme Court getting rid of it, and a lot of D and I programs being scrapped by Trump and Elon Musk. Now, first of all, I'm going to go through what I personally think of it and how it's applied to my life, and then I'm going to delve into some popular opinions of affirmative action. So the first things first, is I think that it has good intentions. I definitely see the value of affirmative action, and that being that we need to um, bring people who are normally not in positions of high power into those positions. So, what do I mean exactly? I mean that people who live in rural areas, people far from the sources of commerce and power, people perhaps marginalized groups, who don't have really a big say in society. Absolutely, I think that they should be given. Um, I, I I wouldn't say they should be given like um, handouts, but that they should be encouraged to pursue those high positions, right? Because if they reach status, if they can reach like economics like parity with the majority class, then that means you solved inequality in some sense. You've made society more equal, whatever that means. But therein lies some problems. Um, One of them being, well, if I put this, so I'm just going to pick an arbitrary example. Please don't cancel me. I'm going to put this Latina woman into this high tech position. Say I'm going to make her VP of research and development. Then that means that I took the position of, say, 100 other um, people and put her there. And why did I do it? Because there's a top-down order that says, "Hey, you have to put her there." Why? Because diversity. I, yes, diversity does is proven to, in some cases, according to McKinsey, to have better productivity outcomes. But but then again, not always, right? You're sacrificing potential upside for in the name of diversity, and more on that later. Um, I think it becomes an issue when you try to put affirmative action in universities, because universities are not meant for like DE and I. That's just what I think. I feel like universities are a place where the hardest working, the most intellectually curious and studious people go to a center for higher learning and interact with like minded individuals. It's not supposed to, and for most of history, has not been a place where you try to get people from all walks of life to them. That's not what the goal of a university is. And so, from a personal story, I feel like um, affirmative action. I mean, this is kind of petty. I'm already at a really good school, but affirmative action kind of um, was one factor in me not going to a lot of Ivy League schools. Um, I was waitlisted at a bunch. I won't name names, but I my parents were very bitter about it too, and something that I've come to terms I've come to grapple with is, did affirmative action play a role? And I think it did, because if I were a black man, I with a 1510 SAT score, valedictorian in my high school, 9 APs, all of them fives and fours, just on stats alone, I would have gotten into Harvard. There's no debate. If I were a black man and I had all these accolades, I would have gotten into every single school, and it's been proven time and time again. In fact, by many people who, and I have many colleagues at these schools who come from underrepresented backgrounds and had very low scores, or were even completely test optional and gotten. But I digress. The point is that affirmative action in schools is a very I just think it's done the wrong way, because race by itself is a social construct that has no grounding in an objectivity. I said today, just partly out of a joke, but I said that the white man created race so it could separate the people that they conquered into certain groups and then have them fight amongst themselves. I don't know too much about that in the literature, but I welcome anybody to talk more about that in the comments. I'd love to learn more. So to first of all, to categorize by race is a very rough estimate, because race is so like fluid and like it's not static, you know. There can be someone, there's like multiracial people, and then what do you call like someone who's like back in the 20th century, like there was a debate on whether, like, if you were considered black, if your mom was white and your dad was black, but you were considered black, then you weren't considered white, you were considered black. So it's just this very messy issue that I feel like has no place in deciding who goes to college or not. I think a more accurate measurement would be socioeconomic status, so that would be just based on your tax bracket, right? I think that's a better solution if we were to have affirmative action. However, that will never happen, because the rich, the elites, they are in control of the system. And to have wealth, the most discriminating factor, be part of the decision, that would just jeopardize everything that they want, because then that means they would be subject to the affirmative action, which would not work. That's just my hot take. I think that right now, based on race, it's actually favorable to the white elite class in the U.S. because like at these universities, they still represent the majority. They still represent 30 to 40 to 50% of the student body. That definitely would not be the case if it were graduated based on, if it was on a graduated income tax variant. So like say every income tax bracket had to be represented, then that means there would be a lot of people from the lower class in universities, which is a very idealistic thing that I think would be pretty cool to happen, but totally unrealistic. If that were to happen, then the white elites would no longer have their place in school. And you know how much education is valued among the elite class. Just look at Operation Varsity Blues or Olivia Jade. You know, like these parents really want these kids to go to high-ranking schools, and they'll do anything for it. So they so to tie back to my original point is that race is already it works well in that gray area to support the agenda of the white elite class, we'll say. Another topic I wanted to talk about was Thomas Sowell. He's an economist at Brown University who has done a lot of research on affirmative action. And what he's found is that there's empirical data that supports the fact that affirmative action does not work. So, what he means by that is um, they tracked affirmative action students at these high ranking universities. And what they found is that 50% of them drop out. That's right, 50% of them drop out because, to begin with, they cannot handle the academic rigor at these schools. That's why they have you take the SAT score test. It's so that they can see if you can handle the amount of math and reading involved. So that's one contentious issue, and I'm like going into some like pretty deep stuff already, so I might as well go deeper. He also said that the problem of the black population is not one of race but of culture. So he wants to separate these two, and what he means is that it is it's like the black culture. What did he call it? The bad motherfucker um, culture. Like you're a hood gangster, like you're a rapper. You like deal drugs, or you make music, or you go play in the NFL or NBA. Like this very like macho sentiment, and he thinks that is the ultimate downfall um, of the black culture in America, and how that's beginning to pervade throughout the entire American culture, and that's ultimately leading to a decline of intellectualism in America. But that's a topic for another video. What I'm trying to say is that affirmative action is not a it's not a perfect solution, and I feel like that something different should be done. One is to do what I said in the beginning, which was do it based on income, but that will never happen as long as the oligarchy is in rule. The second option is to get rid of everything, get rid of holistic admissions. So I mean, what even is holistic admissions? It's so subjective. It's like if the admissions officer sort of had a similar life experience as you, then they would be obviously more biased to that student. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube of interviews of admissions officers admitting to that. Yeah, so I think that the best solution is to just get rid of all of that and to have one test. That is what most countries in the world do. They have one final exam, that or some other like academic exam that determines where you're gonna go, because that's the fairest way. Yes, the Gaokao in China is extremely stressful, and in a way it determines the trajectory of your life. But what are the other alternatives? To have holistic admissions that opens up the way to bribery, to your own family's finances being part of it, determine your extracurriculars, and your essay writing. There are many ghostwriters who can just write your essay for you. I mean, my cousin who goes to Duke, her parents spent tens of thousands of dollars on college counselors, like private college counselors who would walk you through everything, to like your essay, to your extracurriculars, to what college to apply to. Like there's this very deep interconnected network that's privy to the rich in America. So they already have a leg up. The only way to get rid of that is to have one standardized test, and I think that's what the SAT tries to do. Um, there are opponents of the SAT who say that if you're rich, then you can hire tutors, right? You can hire tutors, you can get all these resources, but in the end they don't really help that much. Tutoring can only go so far. You still have to put in the actual work to achieve a high score on the SAT. And tutoring only goes so far. Like you're not gonna get like a 400 point increase from like a tutor. Like it's all based on like how much effort you're gonna put in. And just I never understood why schools went test optional, because like that's literally the in my opinion that's like the bulk of a person's um, application is their SAT score. I mean that it is. I mean for law school it's LSAT and GPA, right? I mean it's standardized test is there for a reason. It's to make sure that all schools across the nation, all students in all schools across the nation have a standardized comparable test to compare them against each other. That's why there's standard deviations and percentiles. It's all to compare you versus the entire nation. And if you don't have that, if you have a school that does grade inflation or just a very lackluster school or something, and you want to prove that you are better than, say, some kid who goes to a private school, like GPA is not going to work because it's only subjected to that school. What's going to work is a national board approved standardized test. Now, I'm going to wrap up by talking about myself in my experience. I already touched upon the race part, but I think partly one of the reasons that I got into USC was because I'm from a rural school. I had a graduating class of 150 people, and my town is about like 16,000 people, so very, very small. And I think that's partially one of the reasons why I got into USC. So in that case, I guess it did help me. So I wouldn't say that, but I still think it's not the biggest part of my application. I still think the biggest part were the fundamentals, were the academic scores. But I have to admit that I am also a beneficiary of affirmative action. So it's like a very gray area for me. But I think altogether I'm still against it because it's just, well, I already said it in the video. I'm not going to repeat it. Yeah. But please let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to talk more about this. And yeah, I'm going to do a talk on my philosophy club about Christopher Hitchens' God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. So I'm going to try to get some footage of that. I think it would be fun. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. I love all of your comments. I mean, my my impossibility of God one got like 170 comments, so that was pretty sick. I hope something like that continues. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take it easy.